Getting some dropouts. Spell your name.
Apoorv. A-P-O-O-R-V.
A-P-W. No.
A-P-O-O.
Sorry, the audio isn't very good. Try to say it again.
It is go to AKGC Fab Lab.
I need you to say it slower. The audio isn't very good.
A-K-G-E-C.
Okay, A-K-G-E-C. And then Apoorv. Okay.
Apoorv, yes.
Yep.
I've tried assembly language also, even this week.
Okay.
And this is what I've done. First, I've described what are the stages involved and how we can program a board using these three languages. And I've explained the procedure. Then this is a blink LED program which I've done using Arduino. And I've also tried this program using button. And the next, I've also programmed the board using C, including GCC libraries.
Good.
This is the work which I've just done to learn this language. And here I've explained about the main.
Now, first of all, let me just remind everybody, Arduino is C. Arduino is calling GCC. The difference is there are a bunch of libraries. So there's a common misconception that you can do Arduino or C. Arduino is C with libraries. My examples don't use those libraries. So the distinction is how to do it without the IDE and the libraries. They're both C. It's a common misconception.
Okay.
Arduino works because of GCC. It's just the GCC is buried inside underneath the IDE. In my examples, I show how to use it directly. So go on.
Then I've just used C to blink a program.
And then, sorry, this is good. What he's showing is, in my examples, I have macros. You don't need the macros. What he's doing here, if you go to, let's go back to my example. Where were we? In my example, I have these macros giving names to them. What he's doing is he's just writing it directly. He's doing the same thing I'm doing, but he's not giving them names with macros. He's just writing it. It's doing the same commands. Okay?
Then I've just made the similar program using C again, using button, just to compare what's going on. Then also made this assembly program to blink.
So this is great. Thank you. I'm really happy. I kind of misspoke a moment ago, and I knew it when I was saying it. I said this is the ground truth. This is the basic thing, writing to the register. But what I said wasn't true, because there's a layer below this. The C compiler has to turn a statement like port or equals pin into commands the processor understands. So the layer below it is the actual instructions for the processor. And so what he's done is you can write the instructions themselves. So here, explain the program.
Okay, first what I've done, I've just blinked a LED, but the timings, the delay which I've created was less. And I've just made some calculations. What is the actual delay? As you can scroll down and you can see the calculations which I've done to calculate the delay. As I was using 20 megahertz crystal, so the delay was less from here.
Okay.
So I've gone through a website from where I can find the appropriate program just to find the delay. I've given the link, avrdelay.html. From here, I've just find this, how to just give the delay of 1 second. This is the file which I've shared.
Okay, So this is also lovely. The Arduino sketch is 952 bytes. And this is a trivial program. The C program is 100 bytes, and the assembly program is 44 bytes.
Yes.
Now, a couple notes about assembly language. I'm very happy you did that. One note is assembly language dates before modern languages. And so historically, it was just written as just a straight chunk of text. You can format assembly language as if you're writing a higher level language. So I write my assembly language with comments and with indentation as if it's C. And so you can make assembly language that's easier to read. And just so everybody understands, if you write assembly language, there's no toolchain to install. There's no libraries. This is sort of all the, well, there's only one layer below this. Again, I'm not saying the truth. To say it really carefully, if we go back to embedded programming, let's see, this is all the way at the bottom. These are the actual codes. So you don't even need assembly language. Nobody does this. If you really wanted to, you could write the codes in the hex file yourself. That's the lowest level. I don't know anybody who does that. One level up is this, which is each of these, it's a word that corresponds to one code, but there's no compiler. Every word here is a single code. And then the level above that is the C. It used to be that assembly language programming was common for embedded processors. But the compilers have gotten very good, so it's much less common. Still, it gives you the tightest control over performance. It gives you the smallest programming. It's a nice thing to look at. And once you learn how to do it, it's not much harder than C. I mean, what did you conclude now about Arduino versus DirectC versus assembly? What are you going to use?
Okay, but just talking about my experience on assembly language, I have to learn a lot while just to program using assembly. I have to just go through all the instruction set, what are the actual clock cycles they are taking, and how to just calculate the delay. And
right.
It is interesting to program using assembly as we are just getting the clear-cut idea about what is going inside the microcontroller.
Right.
And we don't.
So again, to go through that, I have linked. This is the instruction set, and so like if you wanted to. So these are all of the instructions. This really defines the processor. And so each of these is one instruction. And so for each one, you have to go to this page, and it explains. Yeah, so here, sorry, let's go back to, if you go to the data sheet for the processor we're using, at the very end of the data sheet is the instruction set.
Yes.
This is what it actually knows how to do. These are the instructions. And then you go to this data sheet, and it explains what each of them does. Then on top of that is there are just the assembler lets you give names to variables. It adds a few things on top of that. But to your point, right? That's the bottom reality. Now that you did it, are you going to use it again, or are you going? What are you going to use for the rest of the class?
Yes, I'm trying to use it for rest of the class, but I need to learn more about this language. I have to just read the instruction sets once more, and really I like this language, but I need to study more to just program something.
Yeah, it's sort of like a Zen rock garden. It's a very pure world. So I think you'll find the Arduino IDE is particularly nice if you want to be able to use libraries written for it. C, I find, is nice just to have have good control. It's convenient. And C is I use when I have things like iteration and looping and subroutines where the program structure is a bit complex. Assembly is nice when you really care about every byte of code and every clock tick and the raw performance. And so no one is best. I would suggest continuing with a mix of them. Good.
Okay,
Good.
I'm
glad you did that. Go ahead.
I've also done interrupt-based programming. I've used timer interrupts to blink an LED. I scroll down. I've done this also. I've used timing-based interrupts to blink LED. Also, the external interrupt.
Okay, great. So here, let's go back. These are really good examples for people to see. So if we go back to, he's using two different systems. One is there are clocks, and so you can set up these counters to measure time. And then the system has a whole bunch of different interrupts, and you can interrupt on the timer. And so rather than you doing it, you can tell it to blink the light when the clock ticks.
Yes, I've just taken this service routine. When the clock overflows after 255 ticks, then it just creates an interrupt to blink the LED. But in this, I was just facing a problem of the switch bounce when I use the external interrupt. Just scroll up. I've given a picture. What was the problem I was facing? This little up.
Yep.
Not this one. Just go
up or down.
Yes, up. Yes. The problem I was facing was this. When I was pressing the button, LED was on. When I'm releasing, it was off. But sometimes when I'm just increasing the speed of this pressing and release, the output was reversed. I don't know. When I talked to my local instructor, he said this might be because of switch bouncing.
Yeah. So right. Usually you want to. There's a general notion of what's called a Schmidt trigger that you can do in software, which is so with an analog signal, it can vary. And so if you have a threshold, it'll rattle sort of on and off as you cross it. And then for a switch, what happens is it doesn't typically, it sort of rattles a bit before going. And so if you're reading it very quickly, you'll see that it's a bunch of pushes, not one, and it can throw the code off. And so the way you deal with the analog version is you have separate thresholds for going up and for going down. And so you don't trigger in the same value going up and going down. There are a bunch of ways to debounce switches. The simplest one is just time, that you set a time window after which a switch event you ignore what the switch is doing. There are many ways to debounce, but the simplest one is just there's a limited time over which it's happening, and you wait until that time goes by. But again, this is a really good week's assignment, because what you're showing, thank you. I wanted to go right to this picture. To understand all the things he's showing, it goes back to the data sheet, that the button and the switch, you can read the pins,